showed some of his explosive pace on occasion. Possibly the less structured Super League might suit someone with that explosive pace.
Yeah. Interesting, because he's played a bit. When they talk about versatility, they basically mean he's played full back and wing. So it'd be interesting to see where Lamb sees him.
I think he's also quote unquote comfortable in the centres and at standoff as well. Wigan had talked a lot about in the release about how versatile it is. Right now, Wigan maybe need a winger because Burgess and Marshall aren't fully fit, in my view, and the other guys are out for the season. So I think he might slot in at wing first of all. I think longer term, I would guess we see him as a centre to sort of replace Sarginson in that right centre spot. And maybe if that doesn't work out, swap him and Hardacre around and have Hardacre in the centre where he started his sort of Super League career, I suppose. He won a grand final or two, didn't he, in the centres for Leeds, and put Bevan French at full back where he's most suited, I would say.
Yeah.
Possibly. But
the
jury's out for me because of that question, where is his best position and where will he play? But there's no doubt that he's got skills and a lot of speed.
He's got raw talent. But yeah, so age is on his side still. So he could make a sensational impact.
Yeah, and I hope he does. Talking about someone else who maybe you were alluding to before as being an even bigger signing than George Burgess, and arguably it is the case. Do you want to take us through the next news story?
Yeah, so Catalan have confirmed the signing of New South Wales star James Maloney from Penrith Panthers on a 3-year deal from next year. The 33-year-old will become the first ever marquee player for the Dragons after helping the Blues win State of Origin earlier this month. And Tom on this one says, heck of a signing this one. Very rare an active Origin player come to Super League. They have some mega pulling power in the south of France. Nice to see Catalan abusing the post-Brexit Euro conversion rate next year.
I mean, obviously the biggest thing that jumps out of this is a player who just performed way better than I expected him to in the recent Origin series is coming to play in the Super League next season. But yes, the fact that they're saying he's the first ever marquee player for the Dragons when they've currently got Bird, Tompkins and Cassiano all on big deals, you would suspect. So how is he the first ever marquee player?
Clever accounting.
That said, it is a fantastic sign, and I think every Super League club would have been wanting this man in their squad. So Catalans have pulled off a real coup because he's been talking about coming to the Super League for a while, probably since he realised his Australian jersey was gone, and maybe he thought his New South Wales time was over as well. But injuries a little bit have helped push him back into those reckoning, and the way he performed this year was great. I think he's still got something to offer over the next couple of years, and so I think it's a great signing.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what impact he has on Catalan in terms of, because he is one of those guys who, as he did with New South Wales, he kind of drags the team around, doesn't he? He's that kind of player. Almost every team he's been with have, gone on to win comps. Penrith being the exception that proves the rule. But he's had success in a lot of different teams, and he's lifted the level of that team. So, massive signing for Catalan.
Okay. Catalans also in the news by handing halfback Samisoni Lange a new 2-year deal. 26-year-old Lange, who has earned 7 caps for Tonga, has scored 6 tries in 40 games since arriving at the... Is that all? Since arriving at the Dragons from Leigh ahead of last season, he helped Catalans win the Challenge Cup last year. Is that all?
He feels like he's scored 6 tries this year at least.
I feel like I've seen him score braces more than once.
Yeah.
However,
he's
solid re-signing. He seems to fit that. It seems to fit their culture quite well, and he performs as well for them at centre as he occasionally does at standoff. I still see him as a centre, even though other podcasts may disagree.
To me, I think particularly when you look at the Maloney signing, I think he'll be playing much more centre next year, I would have thought. More Catalan news. Back row Benjamin Julien has signed a new 2-year contract. The 24-year-old France international has been with the Dragons since last year.
Yeah, sensible, tying down one of the French talents there.
Yep.
London Broncos have signed Sydney Roosters halfback Brock Lamb on a deal until the end of the season. The 22-year-old has scored 5 tries and 81 points in the NRL for both the Roosters and previous club Newcastle Knights, which I didn't even know he was at the Roosters. I just remember him from the from the Knights from a couple of years ago. But yeah, finally London making a move to try and keep themselves in Super League by signing a player in a position that they haven't really signed anyone for before the season. So they've done very well in there, the players that have played in there, and I suppose they did get Morgan Smith in eventually just on the eve of the season. But I think this is a sign of intent of we're going to try and play some, we're try and play out some games a bit more here, and we've got a halfback now to take us around the park, as well as having Abdul's massive boot.
Yeah, it's interesting signing a halfback at this point, isn't it, of the year? How many games are left? 5?
Yeah, 5 games.
That's quite to land in the country, get used to everything, to have a positive influence on the team.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 6 games left. Yeah. Okay.
Even so, that's quite That's quite a task, I would argue, for anyone. So if he has a positive impact on them, that's great. But I think it wouldn't surprise me if he struggles, because I think that you're putting him in a slightly difficult position as somebody who's trying to be an influence on the structure of a team.
No, I do appreciate what you're saying there. Maybe we've been saying they needed to do this for a while, and other teams had been making moves earlier on, hadn't they, a month or so ago, to address some of their issues, and London have waited. But I think they've probably got a very talented player who can be capable of doing something for them. We'll see. But if he can help them win, maybe 3 games, that might be enough.
It might be. Yeah. Could be.
Okay, someone who isn't going to be making an impression for the rest of this year, or indeed the future. Hull KR hooker Tommy Leigh has retired from Rugby League with immediate effect. The 31-year-old.
It's the second unbelieving stat from the news this week.
But this is the opposite way around. I thought he must have been at least my age. Anyway, the 31-year-old joined the Robins ahead of the 2018 campaign and made 37 appearances for the club, scoring 3 tries. Leigh began his career at Hull FC before enjoying spells with... And this is why I thought he was so fucking old. Leigh began his career at Hull FC before enjoying spells with Crusaders. I mean, how long has it been since they were in Super League? Crusaders, Wakefield, Huddersfield, Salford, London, St Helens and Hull KR.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Tom Andrews said, I can't say I've ever rated him, but 15 years in Super League tells its own story. Thank you for the 2 years in East Hull and good luck for the future. On the same story, 3 players retire mid-season. Last time this happened, it was also KR. Then Tom said, later on, don't know how I forgot, but it's 4 retirements this season. The man Joe Wardle. What a crazy season.
Yeah, the Hull KR Craven Park Retirement Village is in full effect. I mean, 15 years in Super League, so many different clubs. I think the reason you're thinking about that is because you talk about him all the time, because he's on the move. And I don't know whether he's actually ever really he hasn't really cemented himself anywhere, has he? So it's tricky. But I wish him well with whatever he goes on to do.
Oh, certainly, yeah. I mean, he's had a long career already, hasn't he, at 31? So good luck for his future outside of the game. Some of the money that was freed up by the release of Tommy Leigh maybe has gone on to this news that Hull KR signed Dean Hadley and Jez Litton from city rivals Hull FC on initial loan deals, which will become permanent at the end of the season. Back rower Hadley, who's 26, played 89 times for Hull and toured PNG with England Knights last season. So that talks about his credentials, and then Hull KR have paid what is described as a significant compensation for hooker Lytton, who's 21, with a highly rated academy player. You ask, currently unnamed, I'm not sure if they've decided who they want yet, but highly rated academy player to move the other way. Both Hadley and Lytton have signed deals until the end of the 2022 season. Now, I asked Scoots what she thought about this, because I remember the first time I ever met Sarah in person. I went to watch a game with her and her dad and Joshua, and Jez Lytton was, I think, either in the squad or very close to the squad that day. I think he might have been in the squad that day. And we were all talking, though, about how much we liked Lytton, how he was a great change of pace option for Hull FC, and how we wanted to start to see them use him more. And they've pretty much ignored any of what we felt for the 2 years that have intervened, because he's not had the opportunities. I see it like they've... When you look at Hull FC's stats, you'll see a lot of missed tackles out of the same players, and it's the players around the fringes, the halfbacks and the second rowers and the centres. And that, to me, is because that to me is a contributing factor into why Jez Lytton doesn't get more games, because Danny Houghton is running his arse off covering for people who can't tackle in that Hull FC side, so much so that they can't take him off the field, so they can't put a player who's going to improve their attack on, because their defence outside of Danny Houghton is not up to scratch. And that's a big hindrance in Jez Lytton's time there, I think. I think he's been really poorly done to with game time for Hull FC, and I hope that he's going to get game time at Hull KR, because boy do they need a hooker. We talked about Tommy Leigh retiring. We all know about the surgery that's been required for Matt Parcell after such a great start in his first or two of his first 3 games there. He was brilliant. So I think that's a great sign. And Dean Hadley is a solid Super League player.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen more of Hadley than Lytton, because obviously Lytton is, epitomises potential, and we haven't really seen it yet. It's not a bad kind of 1-2 punch hooker for KR next year, is it? If Parcell can get himself fit, for me, they're good signings for KR, and losses for FC, in my opinion. What was Sarah's opinion about it? I can't remember.
She did say she wasn't too chuffed that they've given FC such good players to see out the rest of the season. I'm sure she'll be feeling differently that when the derbies come around, and she'll enjoy those occasions next year. Tim G as well, who's our other regular co-host partner with us all. He's a Hull KR fan, obviously, and he's a fan of this signing, particularly Jez Lytton. So we'll wait and see if he fulfills the potential that I think all of us see him as having. Then finally, Mason Caton-Brown has left Wakefield to pursue other business interests. The 26-year-old returned to Trinity back in April after enjoying a short spell with Toronto towards the back end of last season. Caton-Brown, who represented Jamaica in Rugby League Sevens, scored 6 tries in 10 games for Chris Chester's Trinity side this year. The winger has also played for London Broncos, Hemel, Salford and Dewsbury. He scored 84 tries in 116 career appearances. Caton-Brown will take some time out from the game and is not expected to be joining another club anytime soon. Yeah.
I don't know what he's going to do.
Well, the last time he left, he talked about having some other interests. Was it in fashion or something?
Oh, I've no idea.
But anyway, or was that someone else? Maybe I'm getting him confused with... Oh no, I'm getting him confused with that guy who left Huddersfield. That Jared Simpson. I don't know how I'm getting him confused with him. Maybe because they both have Jamaican heritage. But
well,
but yeah, Mason Caton-Brown. I think he's a player that belongs in Super League. 6 tries in 10 appearances.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty good. And he did those 6 appearances when he didn't have the first choice centres inside of him as well. And I always think anyone with freckles, prominent freckles, being someone who grew up with prominent freckles, I always think anyone with prominent freckles should be given more of a chance. You don't see that many people with freckles who are quick, do you?
Honestly, I don't think I've ever thought about it. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Anyway.
But he is quite freckly, isn't he?
He is quite freckly, and he's also quick.
Yeah.